President Donald Trump has voiced confidence that the United States may soon finalize an agreement with Iran aimed at preventing Tehran from ever developing a nuclear weapon.
And this comes hours after saying he had postponed a planned military attack to allow all the negotiations to continue. Let's listen to this first.
I put it off for a little while, hopefully maybe forever, but possibly for a little while, because we've had very big discussions with Iran, and we'll see what they amount to. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal.
Trump said he has instructed the U.S. military to be prepared to go forward with a full large-scale assault on Iran on a moment's notice in the event that an acceptable deal is not reached.
Periods of time where we thought pretty much getting close to making a deal, and it didn't work out, but this is a little bit different. Now, we're ready going tomorrow, very big, and not something I wanted to do, but we have no choice because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Yeah.
While Iranian Foreign Ministry has confirmed talks with the U.S. through mediator Pakistan, President Masoud Pezeshkian said that dialogue does not mean surrender and that Tehran would defend its dignity and rights. And according to Iran's Tasnim news agency, Tehran's demand include an immediate end to the war on all fronts, a reference to the continued Israeli attacks against Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Then there's guarantees of no further attacks on Iran, a demand for compensation for war damage, and they also reportedly include a halt to the U.S. naval blockade of Iranian ports and an emphasis on Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz.
According to Iran's Fars news agency, Washington presented 5 conditions in response to Tehran's proposal on Sunday. The reported demands included limiting Iran to a single operational nuclear facility and transferring its stockpile of highly enriched uranium to the U.S.
And this comes while leaked details assessed by Saudi Arabian news channel Al Arabiya has claimed that Iran has agreed to a long-term freeze on parts of its nuclear program instead of a complete dismantling of its capabilities. And the reported proposal also suggests that Iran is willing to transfer enriched uranium to Russia, not to the United States, under specific conditions. Well, to discuss more on this, we are now being joined live by John Erith, live from Washington, D.C. He is a senior policy director for the Center for Arms Control and Non-Proliferation in Washington. Thank you so much for joining on the broadcast. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'd like to begin by this comment by Trump, who says that very positive talks are happening, and then he had halted the attacks because his West Asia allies told him not to do so. How positive does these talks look like when you have Iran saying that, well, we're going to be looking at this deal, of course, with all the sovereignty that needs to be given to Iran?
The two sides are clearly still some distance apart. And the discussions that are going on are being held through intermediaries, through Pakistan and the Gulf states. So there is not a direct channel, there is not a direct negotiation going on. But that said, it is possible to see some path forward towards an agreement if both sides are willing to compromise a little bit. Iran must accept certain constraints on its nuclear program. It accepted these previously in 2015. Now it must accept something a little bit more because President Trump has criticized the 2015 deal repeatedly, saying it's not good enough. So he needs to be able to show somehow that what he is getting is better. And the U.S. has to provide some form of meaningful sanctions relief and give up something of the hardline position that Iran should end its nuclear activity completely. Within certain boundaries, within adequate safeguards, it's possible that Iran could continue some nuclear activity.
John, you also marked this in your initial response, saying that these talks are taking place through intermediaries. Earlier, Donald Trump, we've heard him say that he doesn't know whom to speak with in Iran because there is no one who would speak with him directly. And that's a problem he's also faced in the past. In your assessment, do you feel any resolution can really be actually achieved until the two sides sit face to face? Because we've heard this in the past as well, that we're very close to a deal and then nothing happens.
That is correct. There have been times in the past when there has been a possibility of a deal and nothing has happened, or violence has happened. We certainly don't want to go there again. But I do remember that in 2015, there were no direct U.S.-Iran talks at that time. It was all done through European countries and Russia. So the precedent is there. It's possible. It's not going to be easy, but I'm more concerned that there's nobody to talk to on the U.S. side than the Iranian side. The U.S. is doing this without benefit of senior arms control diplomats, regional experts. It's being done by President Trump's son-in-law and his real estate guy. And they're not experts in these issues. They don't know what meaningful constraints on Iran's nuclear program would look like. So the amateur presence on the U.S. side is somewhat concerning.
But should Russia perhaps be on the table then to have these discussions again, and perhaps they need to change the intermediary? Do you see it that way?
Russia can play a useful role potentially in providing a safe landing spot for Iran's uranium. This is also something that happened in the 2015 deal. So Russia does have a constructive role to play if they choose to play it. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov today said he has not been approached, he has not been asked, he is not part of any discussions going on.
But the one thing that was different from the 2015 was because Russia and Ukraine were not at war at this point. So what would U.S. do at this point, and what would it mean for U.S. to include Russia or letting Iran transfer these uranium enrichment to Russia at this point?
It would be a practical step. A little more highly enriched uranium in Russia is not a proliferation concern because Russia already has a lot of it. So it's a safe alternate location for the uranium to go. That way, everyone can be sure that Iran is not using it to build nuclear weapons or do anything dangerous, and that it will not fall into the hands of terrorists.
John, we'll need to wait and watch how this one plays out, because there has been a lot of talk. It's been, months now, hearing that we're close to a deal and then hostilities start. Hearing about a end of civilization and then a ceasefire starts, and then the ceasefire remains fragile. So it's been extremely volatile, but let's wait and watch, because the Strait of Hormuz, that's where the entire world wants some kind of a resolution at the earliest. We're really feeling expenditures going up across economies, across the world, and that includes the US. Everyone is getting hurt in their own way. Expenses are only going up. We're all feeling it in the households. We'll need to wait and watch how this one pans out. Hope that it arrives at a conclusion at the earliest. Thanks so much. That was John Eretz joining us at World DNA. Always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.